gonna stop there. I think we can get started. It's 12:20. Just a reminder, Brian went over this in the first session. We'll use the chat to communicate. We'll also use the question and answer. My co-host Amanda will be here as well, looking at those questions and helping to answer those questions as well. So both of us will be here. If you need closed captioning, go ahead and turn that on. And then if you could chat with everyone, that'll help us all to share with each other and get started. So a little bit about me. My name is Dr. Kristen Topolinski. I have been in public education for over 27 years. I'm in out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, and taught science all of those years. Love science. I also taught social studies too in the middle school setting. So love it and am excited to share with you all the great things that TCI has to offer for science. So today we're going to be hitting three key areas. We're going to talk a lot about navigation and how to use TCI to benefit you, to make it easy. What I love about TCI and being a part of the TCI team is the fact that it's by teachers for teachers. So everything you see, all the improvements that you see, these are things that teachers are asking for to make your life easier. So we'll be talking a lot about navigation. We'll get into some of the slideshow delivery format and then resources and professional learning that are out there as well. And we'll go ahead and get started. So in our middle school science programs, you can either have an integrated science program where you're having multiple types. You might have earth, physical, and life, or you might only be teaching one of those areas in middle school. So they're based on the next generation science standards, and we are have them built in that way so that they connect with that. So each of the lessons that you'll see, or the units that you see, the unit has a phenomena, and then the lesson also has a phenomena. Students, after observing the phenomena and seeing that, they move into the 3D investigations where they're doing hands-on investigations to learn more about that particular phenomena and what makes it happen. So then once they've finished those investigations, they move into making sense of the phenomena, where they're thinking about questions that they've answered that helps them to understand why something happens. And then the last part is the 3D assessment. And there's lots of flexible options for assessment here that we'll get into, and I'll show you some of those when we get into the live program. But very important that you know that when you look at this, there's so much flexibility for you that you can really, if you have a time constraint or maybe you don't, like for me, I didn't actually have a science lab. So that makes a huge difference when you're setting things up and trying to do things. So, lots of flexibility in both delivering the lessons as well as assessing them. All right, so we're going to go live here and I'm going to kind of walk you through. I've picked a 7th grade lesson. I thought that was kind of midway. So we're going to do that. Let me jump out of here for a second. When you go into your program, I'm just showing you the 6th grade for a second. When you go into your program on TCI, you're going to see any assignments that you have. So I wanted to show you this one because there are no assignments currently in this particular account. So you would see here that there's nothing there, but this is your home screen. So once you've assigned stuff, so again, I'm going to show you the 7th grade one. I wanted to show you a blank one first. In your home screen, you're going to see anything that you've assigned. And when you come in, you can see when it's due. You can see if students have turned in work. Here's some work that I have to grade. All of that is going to be here on your home page. Now, whenever you see a key like this is going to let you go in as a student and look to see what they're doing. Right now, you can see even if they've started items, these are ones that are finished and need to be graded, but you'll be able to see, I'll show you where that is in just a second. You'll be able to see what they've already started even. So it backs up every minute or so. And so you'll be able to see live what they're working on or what they have been working on. So I can show you that as well. But again, this is the home page. This is where you're going to land when you come in. shows you all of your units down here. This one again is the integrated science. So I've got all different types of science here. And you can go jump right into those. When I'm planning this, where I like to start is the unit overview. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into the unit overview. Questions so far about the homepage or anything else that I've showed you? Okay. You go ahead and throw them in the question, or you can throw them in the chat too. I'm not seeing, oh, there's the Q&A. Okay. All right, just making sure. When I'm going in to plan a unit, the first thing I do is come to this unit overview, because once I get into here, it's going to show me the whole progression. And anytime you see an orange box or an orange icon, that is teacher only. So the students don't see this information when they're in their account. You're going to have the unit progression in here. You're going to have the anchoring phenomenon for the unit here. It's going to explain all the different components of that unit phenomenon. You're going to have the 3D learning progression and what your students, what standards, what next generation science standards are going to be there. Those are all right here for you. So you know, if your district asks you to track those, you can certainly pull them up and you know which ones that you have covered. Then there's this is more of an integrated, if you're doing more of an integrated approach, there's some integrated connections here. And then there's also some highlights. So what I love about this part is this really tells you, like, these are the key things you cannot miss. And so that's really helpful in your planning when you're, determining how much time you have. You also can get in and look at the science and engineering practices that are going to be in this unit, the cross-cutting concepts, and then the disciplinary core ideas as well. And then I always like to watch the video. So I'm going to show you a clip of this video so that you can see how it kind of introduces. It's also going to talk a little bit about the unit project, but even if you don't have time to do the unit project, I highly recommend watching a video just so you kind of have an overview of what is gonna what
Natural hazards such as flooding, earthquakes, mass wasting, and volcanic eruptions may pose threats to your community. Some of these hazards can be predicted by precursor events that signal the likelihood of these phenomena. Other events occur with little or no warning. Records of past events can be used with maps to forecast the risk of future hazards. The effects of these hazards can be mitigated with building designs and planning. Infrastructure, such as bridges, are especially vulnerable to some of these hazards, and they are also critical for providing access to communities in an emergency. As a civil engineer, you will review data to forecast any natural hazards and recommend design criteria for 3 different bridges.
Again, even in this lesson, if you don't do the unit project, it's great just to have that background information. And then once you scroll down on that unit overview page, you're going to see the actual lessons that go along with this. So there's lesson 25, lesson 26, and then there is an engineering design challenge here as well. You can go into the project. The project is right underneath there. If that's something that you want to do with this particular unit, it takes you right in and helps you kind of navigate that project. Okay, I will tell you I spend the most amount of my time in this lesson overview because that's all the planning pieces. So again, when you get into the lesson overview, which is the next part, are there any questions about the unit before I jump in, to the lesson? Okay, I'm not seeing anything. Okay, just wanted to make sure. All right. So again, you've got your orange box, which is what you can see and everyone else can't see. You're going to have your essential question for this particular lesson. You're going to have the objectives. The other thing that is really critical is this part right here, where it's going to tell you about how long it's going to take to finish this lesson. So you can see a lesson with TCI is not what you might consider a lesson in maybe other subjects. It's not just a 1 day thing. So 155 minutes. This kind of shows you about how long each part is going to be, so that as you're planning out how many days it's going to take, you can really take that 155 minutes and see, okay, where are some good stopping places as I'm teaching this lesson. Um, and obviously, if you're gonna, do some extensions, which I'm gonna show you here, or other things that might take more time, but this is kind of like the average amount of time it will take. The more, if you have the students do the reading on their own, it might take a little longer depending on the rate at which your students are reading. So that's something to keep in mind too, when you get into that reading, does it take longer? Are they doing that in class? Are you giving them time for that? So that might be something that would add a little more time. But again, the progression is going to talk about the science and engineering practices, that those cutting concepts, the disciplinary core ideas, and then connecting the lesson phenomenon. So you're going to get into that, and the anchoring phenomenon. So that's all going to be found right here in the overview. Materials, when you click on that, it's going to give you the things that you need. It's also going to give you all of the handouts that you might print for this particular lesson. Now, when I go in here, depending on if I was going to have them do it online or if I was going to have them do it paper pencil, I always click see materials details. And what that's going to do is it's going to open up a new tab, and then it's going to create a list of what you need. But the great thing about this, and again, it's in materials, and these are the materials details, it tells you how much you need. So you need modeling clay, and it's like a pack, and you need one per group. You need one rubber band per group, toothpicks. You need the black trays. So it tells you what you need right here. It also tells you, if you're printing things, what you need. One of these per student, per individual student. So I love the materials detail, because when I'm trying to make things ahead of time, I can print them off and have them ready to go and know what students or groups of students need. It also kind of helps you to think about, okay, how am I going to group the students, and how many groups am I going to have, right? If I need one, like handout D for the group, how many groups do I have? So it makes you kind of think ahead of how you want to be intentional about grouping your students, or if you want it to be random, however you decide to do that. Questions that you have about materials. It also shows you, if you click here, it'll tell you what box it's in. If you have your own supplies, then, you can go to that box. If you share organized space with someone, then maybe, you would have to go and look for those materials. But it's nice to have that there. It also gives you a little warning on, okay, kids might try to shoot the rubber bands. I'm sure this never happens in your classroom. Students might try to poke each other with the toothpick. So obviously things that you want them to do ahead of time, sign some kind of contract where they're going to follow along when you're doing an investigation and do the right thing. So things to think about, right? All right. So materials, they're all there. It's all laid out for you. It tells you how many you're going to need. And then if you're doing things online, you wouldn't have to print necessarily everything, but maybe you would want to print some of these handouts. So you'll just, you'll look at them, and like this one that we're going to look at a little bit later too. It's really helpful because they're going to be tracking some things. So if they have a hard copy and they're typing on their computer, this one would be good to have a hard copy of. So you can kind of think through those things as you're planning. All right. So I'm going to jump into reading next and show you some of the features on the reading. With the reading, what you're going to find is that students have level A and level B. And I will show you later how you can intentionally set this. You can leave it open like it is now. Level A would be at grade level. Level B is about 25% below grade level. So you can choose that. They can also click on it and you'll see, and it is going with a Lexile here. So it keeps all the vocabulary that they need for the unit, but it shortens it and changes it slightly. You can also play on a slow speed or a normal speed in both level A and B. For our multilingual learners, this is great for them to have it slowed down. You know, sometimes they think that we're speaking too fast. So that's very helpful. I always had a cluster of multilingual learners in my classroom, so very helpful. I'll let you listen a little bit so that you can see. It's come a long way since it first started, but the reading is actually pretty good. So I'll just let you listen a little bit.
Volcanic eruptions and earthquakes. How can people predict and plan for volcanic eruptions and earthquakes? Introduction. This photo was taken during an eruption of Mount Etna in July 2001. Located on the Italian island of Sicily, Etna is Europe's tallest and most active
Okay, so you can see there that it is reading it at a pretty good rate. You can slow it down.
volcano.
It erupted again in March 2017, sending fountains of lava over the summit and causing.
And you'll see too that what I've done here, one of the other features is that you can highlight the main ideas. So when you highlight the main ideas, they come up in blue. And what I have done is I have gone over. So here's the highlighted main ideas. I have then added highlights. And to add a highlight, all you have to do is click where you want to highlight, click the color you want, and then you just drag over what you want highlighted. And I'm going to show you later the reason that I do this, and it's super helpful. This is especially helpful for your students who are developing readers and writers, or maybe they have a learning disability, and so they might have special adaptations or special things that you need to do for them. So you can, again, highlight, you pick the color, highlight it. And then what it does is it's going to show up later for them in their section called My Notes. So then you can see what I've done is just highlight those main ideas. So they come up in blue, I highlight them, then I have them in my notes. This is super helpful as students go in to try to study for the assessment that you're going to have, or just review things that they have learned. So very helpful there in the reading that you can kind of highlight or add those things. Again, and I can show you here. Let me go to another one, but we kind of go later in the section here. Go to the summary. Let's see. Actually, I'll go to section 5. All right, so hang on. Again, all I did was I clicked on the main idea. It'll highlight in blue. Then I click on the highlight button and I can highlight that so that it shows up in my notes. Very helpful for students, again, that have different needs. Okay, so let me go ahead and I just wanted to show you a couple reading things, but I'm gonna go ahead and jump into the lesson overview just so that I can show you a little bit with the classroom activities. So really the bread and butter of TCI is these investigation slideshows. So as I click on it and open it up, it's going to break it down into the parts. That what makes it nice about this particular thing is once you open it, you know, obviously this is across multiple days, so you can jump to whatever investigation you're on that day. But we're starting, right? So we're just going to look at the observing phenomenon. It also reminds you again how long these pieces are going to take so that you know what to plan and how many days it's going to take. So as we jump into the observing phenomenon, and we're going to see that the phenomenon is really that volcanoes erupt and earthquakes shift the ground at similar places around the globe. But there are other places that see very little earthquake activity and volcanic activity. So as someone that's from Michigan, we don't see this very often, but those of you in California or other places like that certainly see this more frequently. So you're gonna observe that, and then you're gonna jump in and learn a little bit about locations and things around the world. Any questions so far about anything that we've covered? Just wanna stop and make sure we're all good. Okay.
Yeah, nothing
So
in the Q&A.
okay, I haven't seen anything either. So all right. For some reason it's not popping up on mine, so I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something. All right. So as we learn this, we're learning about the temperature and the pressure and everything that's happening under the surface. We're looking at the destruction. What happens when there's an earthquake? What happens when there's a volcanic eruption? And so we're getting into some of those images and looking at those. Then we're also looking at the different types of boundaries and then the hot spots that we can see that then are what's really the cause of this volcanic eruption. And I will show you at the end this particular lesson. The reason I chose it is because it also has a video component that you could do. And it's great when you have a student that's gone or out sick, or I mean, I'm sure this never happened to you, but sometimes I would have students take a vacation for a week or two. So it's another way to help them get the content as well. So I'll show you that. So we're talking about the origins of earthquakes, what can happen when there's an earthquake. This is a particular instance where the bridge collapsed with the earthquake in this area. We're going to get into different types of boundaries, what happens within the boundaries. There can be, one boundary moving below or colliding. There can be some shifting where it's just sliding against each other, or it can be pushing up with a tectonic plate and then, causing a fault or structures to build up right along that line. So then we're going to look at seismographs, and we're going to look at records of vibrations on the ground. We're going to talk about what creates this particular the wave-like marking on the paper. We'll get into that. And then I'm going to have my co-host Amanda, she's going to throw in there handout A so that you can take a look at it. But so we're going to look at this handout A, and these are earthquakes that are over a magnitude of 5. So as we kind of look at where they are in the world, you're going to see that
Sorry, I'm having trouble uploading a PDF. I'm gonna try a Google link.
Mariana Islands, another. So they're definitely we're looking at the Pacific Ocean. So okay. All right, so we're going to go ahead and take a look here. And students will then either in their scientific notebook, if you've printed it out, or here they can click and they'll go right in and they'll put the dots in. This is an example of, you want to have that handout A printed out for every student so that they can go in and put the dots. But you're going to find that most of them are in this region or this region. And you can show them the answer key. This one doesn't have it, but you can show them the answer key, which is kind of right here. This is showing you where the tectonic plates are in the world. And here's the United States, right? So most of those are along in this Pacific place. That's where the bulk of those earthquakes are happening. So you can see that. And then we do the same thing with volcanoes. So you have handout B. And this is showing us volcanic eruptions. It's showing us where they are, latitude and longitude. And then as we look through this shows you again in 2016, these strongest eruptions where they were. Again, here is the Pacific plate. That's where the bulk of them were. It goes down here into South America as well. And you can see what was happening there at that time. Okay. So again, we looked at the reading for section 1. They're gonna learn about how magma is formed. They're going to answer volcanic eruptions, how they occurred, how it rises up. And again, this one will show you the answer key, so you can take a look where a tectonic plate subducts into the mantle. It brings crystal material with it. This new material lowers the temperature at which the mantle material will melt. So magma forms as a result. So you're going to see you can have the students just do this in their notebook, then you could reveal the answer. Or you can, if you want them to just be taking notes and doing this, you could have them do it on their own too, as they read through these. Depending on if you have the text or if you just want to do it online, those are options that when you're planning, you can decide what to do. Sometimes when I would be absent, if I had a sub, I might have them use the text instead of the online, if I was concerned about students playing games or doing things that they weren't supposed to. So I'm sure that never happens in your classroom, but something to think about when you're gone, how you want to approach the science concepts for that day. All right. Then we get into precursor events, the cause of earthquakes, how scientists determine them. You're going to kind of wrap up the causes. That's the first investigation. The second investigation, they're going to kind of forecast where they think things will happen. They're going to talk about frequency and magnitude. I love this image here. This is so helpful because I always hear about, okay, is it 5 or greater? And when you look at this, you can see why they're saying 5 or greater, right? Because if a bookshelf falls on someone, that could hurt them. And then as it gets higher in magnitude, certainly there's much more damage and much more, again, like even this one says devastation, many deaths. So you can see, you're going to start with injuries here and then devastation here. So this graphic is very helpful for students to think about the magnitude. All right, so then they're going to get in again, they're really just thinking about and learning about what areas have that highest risk of activity. And they're going to create a poster to kind of talk about that and really share information about that. So they're going to identify high, medium, low risk in the area maybe that your community is in, that you teach. All right, and then you're going to kind of wrap that up. And then the last one is the crux of this, where they're going to design a bridge and they're going to test it out. So you do actually print this out, and I did one per group. These are great if you laminate them so that you have them. That way you can just use them all the time, because this is where they're going to actually build it. So they're going to read about these 3 types of bridges. They're going to build it and test it. So they're going to think about what magnitude and frequency would be if you were to build a bridge for California. So you have to think about what design you might need to do, what hazards there could be, where the bridge goes. So if it's getting someone to a hospital, that might be different than if it's just a rural bridge. So thinking about what you need, they're going to test their design and then record their results. So I love that they give you pictures of what it's going to look like. This is a great investigation and the kids love it. There's also a little video clip here where it shows you how to test it. So certainly this is great to help you prepare for this lesson, and also for students to see what they're going to do with it once they build it. So you get into kind of that safety critical area, which would be, again, thinking of very strong, very rare. How do you need to build it? Does it need to be fully operational, even with a high magnitude? Or can it be just kind of strong, where there might not be as many earthquakes? Things that you have to think about when you're building these bridges. And again, you can talk a little bit about mechanical or civil engineering as well as you're teaching this lesson. So they're gonna have tested their bridges. They're gonna talk about, what worked, what didn't. Then they'll go back to making sense of the phenomenon, which is the volcanic eruptions and earthquakes and how they shift the earth and change the earth's surface. Those of you that are teaching 6th through 8th grade, there's also a claim evidence reasoning piece here, and there's a toolkit, and I'm doing a session next to talk all about tips and things for claim evidence reasoning. It's one way that you can assess the students on what they learned. So just one way that you can think about that. And then it kind of gets into making sense of that phenomenon. And then you've got your vocabulary piece. This is great too, like as a starter, like after maybe you're reviewing or something, you could certainly start with these vocabulary words and have the students try to figure out what they are as well. And then here's different ways that you can assess. So you've got 3 different things. You can either give them some game. They can do some of the games. There's a review game. There's a vocabulary game. They can take the traditional assessment and then or they can do the writing to make sense of the phenomenon. So that is kind of what you would progress through. And obviously one of the big hands-on components there is the building of the bridge. So as we go back to that lesson page and we think about that lesson, we're going to take a look at a few other things. So let me show you those lesson games. Questions that you have before I jump into these. Okay. All right. So when you get into the lesson games, you can highlight the unit, the whole unit, if you want, or you can just highlight the lesson that you're working on. It's totally up to you how you want to filter that. But so these 2, this is this is the lesson 25, Budding Wisdom, and it's going to have 21 questions. You could do this kind of like as a class activity to review for the assessment. Maybe you want to do it together. You can make it like Jeopardy style where you have teams. You can individually assign this as well. And you can see I've already done that here because it's got the check mark. I'll show you in just a second how to do other assignments, but so you can do that where they're going to take it individually. You can you could have them do it in partnerships, however you want to approach it. This is one way to either review, or they can do it as an assessment. So it's just going to be like multiple choice questions. Why does Iceland have so many volcanoes? And then click the answer. If it's correct, you get 1 point. I'll do one. This one, volcanic eruptions are classified into 2 categories. I'm just going to intentionally pick the wrong one, but you can click on it, and then if it's not correct, it'll tell you to please try again. And then if you get it correct, you get half a point. If you miss it more than once, then you or more than twice, sorry, then it just gives you the answer. So and then you won't get points. Let me go ahead and go into assignments so I can show you. You can actually do assignments from multiple places. The other thing I love about TCI is that you can do things in several different ways. So to create a new assignment, you can go into assignments and click create new. I'm going to go ahead and select. We are on lesson 26 or 25, I'm sorry. And I'm going to go ahead and just do 26 since I already kind of assigned everything just so that you could see different components here. So it's going to have us select one. I'm going to go ahead and just do the investigation notebook, let's say. And then investigation notebook. And then your classes will be here so you can assign it to all of them. Or let's say you have just one class that you want a particular assignment to go to, then you can give it to that class. Then you set your due date. You can add a name to it if you want. I can call it investigation. I'm just gonna IN for investigation notebook, lesson 26. You can give them directions if, like, let's say you're going to be gone and you want to give them directions. You could put directions in there, and then you can assign. And then you've created that lesson, and it'll show up at the bottom. It's at the bottom. These are all the other ones that I've put in. Any questions about an assignment? The other place that you can do it, I'm actually going to go to the unit overview, back to that page again. If I wanted to do something in lesson 26, I can explore the lesson. And then, like, this is the key concepts, which is the video portion I was telling you about. You can also click here and it takes you to that create an assignment page. And then you can add your class, and add a due date, add a name if you want, and click assign. So there's multiple ways to get at those lessons. I wanted to show you, I'm going to go back to lesson 25 since we just reviewed that one, and I want to show you what this key concept looks like. So I can open that up. Those are the key science concepts. If you don't have time to get all the reading in, sometimes this will cover what you need, and it gives kind of a quick overview. It's also great if you have a student that's absent, or you need to be absent, that they can still continue working on their science. I know it's hard to leave a sub an investigation, so this kind of does it in a safe way. So you can watch this video. This is going to give an overview of those key concepts that we looked at in this. The other thing that I love about the TCI videos is that they're usually 5 minutes or less. So I don't think I've seen one that's much more than 5 minutes. So that's the other thing that I love about it.
Both volcanic eruptions and earthquakes result from processes that involve tectonic plates. A tectonic plate is a huge mass of Earth's crust and the uppermost mantle. Volcanic eruptions and earthquakes often occur where tectonic plates collide, diverge, or slide past each other. Sometimes there are tectonically active areas within plates too. Let's first look at how and where volcanoes are formed. In some places, columns of magma rise from deep within the mantle to hot spots on Earth's surface. When the magma reaches the surface, it can form volcanoes. Volcanoes can also form at divergent or convergent boundaries. A divergent boundary occurs where two plates pull apart. Magma then rises and flows onto Earth's surface. Convergent boundaries occur where one tectonic plate subducts or sinks under another plate. The crust mixes with mantle material, and the mixture melts and rises to the surface. Now let's examine how and where earthquakes tend to occur. Earthquakes are caused by the sudden movement of rock beneath Earth's surface. Most major earthquakes occur along convergent boundaries, which we've already examined, or at transform boundaries. At a transform boundary, two tectonic plates slide past each other, causing stress to build up. When the plates snap free, a shallow earthquake may occur. Earthquakes can also occur anywhere there are faults within a tectonic plate. To predict volcanic eruptions, scientists study historical data and monitor volcanic regions closely. Changes in the amount of volcanic gases released or the shape of a volcano can signal a possible eruption. Earthquakes are more challenging to predict. For that, scientists have to rely only on historical data and knowledge of the tectonic features in a particular region. Knowing where earthquakes and volcanic eruptions are more likely allows people to take appropriate safety measures. This can include using special methods to construct earthquake-resistant buildings and making plans for safe and orderly evacuation.
Okay, so that also could be used as a review if you wanted to do a review with your students. But one other way to kind of help get them the information, I was going to show you too. Hang on just a second. So it's going to give you an overview of what to do. This is actually an activity where they can then practice some of these key concepts so they can determine after watching the video, what goes in A, what goes in B, what goes in C, and they just drag and drop. And then you can show the answer key as well. So, and they can test themselves. You can also set it so that they have to complete it before it'll let them turn it in. They've got to have all the steps completed. That's another key feature that it has. Again, here's a drag and drop. What are the definitions of these vocabulary words? And then also, there's some of these that have drop down. They're just, again, they're practicing, they're reviewing those key concepts. You can click on the review button and it'll take you back to some of those key readings. It takes you back to the video. It gives you, and you can, what's great about TCI is anytime you have an image, you can zoom in on it. You can move it around if you need to get to what you need to see if you need it zoomed in. very helpful. And then again, you've got your assessment pieces that you could do here. So there's one feature. All right, I am going to show you a couple other things. I wanted to show you the grading. So I did have on my homepage, if you remember, let me go back. I did have some grading things here, and I can either click here to get to them. Oops, it popped all that up. Hang on. I can either click here to get into my grades, or I can go here. Either or will work. Once I click on that and it loads, you can see the yellow dot. And if I hover over it, it tells me what to do. This is in progress. That student has started it, but has not finished it. This one is turned in. This one's turned in. These are both started. So far, this person has 6 points. This person has 5. On the vocabulary game, they both have 5. So you can open it up and it'll show you how they did on each of those questions. What did they answer? And I want to show you, there's a new grading features coming. So if you're brand new, it might just be what you're used to. You're going to have the option to opt in if you want to use the new grading style, or you can continue for this next school year, the 25-26 school year, you can use the classic version if you're used to that. So I'll just show you real quick the video here that Brian put together just to, and I apologize, it does not get bigger on this page, so hopefully you can kind of see it. And this is just about the new grading page that's coming.
Your grades page is getting a fall makeover that will simplify your life. You'll now grade by assignment, which will provide a cleaner design and a more intuitive way to grade. You'll only see items on the grades page that you've actually assigned. You can customize the total point value of reading assignments and more. We're also overhauling the students' grades page too, making it easier for students to see their progress and teacher feedback.
All right, so there's some new features coming. Any questions about grading? Anything grading? Okay. I want to spend a couple minutes on assessments, and then we'll kind of jump back into a couple other things. So TCI has created for you an assessment for every single lesson. So you'll see if it in your own version of this, it'll just have the one. So you'll have a TCI, it'll be in purple. That is the one that is the standard. You cannot change the standard one. It'll stay the same no matter what. If you want to change something, you click on the make a copy. Okay. And you can preview also right from here. I can preview what the TCI one looks like. So here's the preview of it. You can see that there's some multiple choice. There's some fill in the blank or fill in the box. There's some drawing things they have to do, lots of different components. One of the cool things about the TCI assessments is that it will read it to them. And it not only reads the question, but it also reads the answer choices. So you can listen here.
1. The volcanic eruptions at Mount St. Helens in Washington and Kilauea in Hawaii.
So you can see that it's going to read it to them. As long as it is a TCI question, then it will read it to them. If you create the question, it does not read it to them. So I'm going to go back here one screen because I want to show you. When you click make a copy, then you come up with this, the questions. So this one actually does have the 13 questions. And so I'm going to show you that one. It does give you on the left side. So like anything that's multiple choice is like bullets and lines. So you're going to see that that's a bullets and lines question. You're going to see like these ones are prompt. They're a prompt question. Anything that has the little pencil by it, those are things that the students are going to do some writing for. So if you wanted to, let's say you need TCI to automatically grade it for you and you don't have time to look at constructive response. So you just want to make it multiple choice. You can just go ahead and click on the delete button and take those questions out. It'll just remove it. If you want to edit the question, you can click on it. I know this never happens to you, but I had a student once that in their IEP, they could only have 3 choices. So then I had to go in and I just deleted one of the ones that was not correct and then saved it. And all you have to do is click the save button right here. Okay, so certainly you can delete a question if you want to delete it, just hit delete or make changes as you need to. This also, you can print the answer key right from here. You can print the assessment. You can preview the assessment once you've made all the changes to it. So lots of options here. All right, any questions about assessments? The other thing that you can do in assessments is you can add questions. I'm just going back to that one that I was working on. You can add from right up here, insert a question. This, you can do TCI only questions, questions within your district that are on assessments that people have created. Other teachers, I just warn you with that because you don't know, if they're in a different state, you don't know where they're from or, anything about them. So I just warn people, I usually go with my district or TCI questions when I'm building these. All right. We've got a few more minutes, so let's go ahead and finish. I want to make sure we get to everything. If you have questions, again, let me know. So we are here to support you. There's professional development, and I'll show you where that is in a second. There's always updates and product information. We have a Facebook group. We have an Instagram group. And it's fun to see what teachers post pictures and things of what they're doing. Always fun to see that. So we love it when you share. Again, right inside the TCI thing, I'm going to show you that there are places to go ahead and learn more if you want to review how to do something. It's there, and I can show you if you go right here to professional development. What I love about this is that it's kind of like, for me, a cookbook, because I love to cook. And so if I want to do something with navigation and planning, I can jump into that piece and I don't get scared by that it says it might take an hour and 20 minutes, because I know that that I don't have to do everything. So as I go through, I can go right to planning a unit, and then I can just do that part of the professional learning. So yeah, professional learning is right underneath my programs. There was one other thing I wanted to show you really quickly, the settings. We talked a little bit about this, and it's the two that say student. Those are the ones that are most important. If you want all of your students to have access to level A and level B and Spanish, you leave those on. If for some reason, let's say you didn't want them to have access to Spanish, you would just unclick that, and then you are going to update down here. So you can certainly do that. If you want them to be able to restart videos, you can do that, restart reading checks, restart vocabulary games, anything in there. You want them to be able to listen to it. You want them to see the main ideas. You're going to check those buttons depending on what you want them to be able to see. And you can certainly do that in your own account and decide what you want. The other one is the student access. If you use a learning management system, the students cannot change classes. And so I just leave that one on. Most people are using a learning management system or Google Classroom or something else where they're coming in. So they don't really have the right to change those. This is giving them prior access before you actually assign it. So if there's something you don't want them to see ahead of time, let's say this one I have it unclicked. I don't want them to be able to go in and do the games before we've taught the lesson. So I will leave that one off. But you can certainly turn it on if you want them to be able to go ahead and play the games. All right. So share your fun moments. There's a chance to win a $100 gift card and the TCI llama for your classroom. So if you share things on Facebook and Instagram, you can win. And then the next sessions coming up are there. You can choose where you want to go. And Amanda, I'm going to have you put in the chat box that link so that they know how to get back to the lobby. Are there any questions or things that you're wondering about? Do we have any questions?
Yeah, nothing in the Q&A right now. And I did want to say, I put it in the chat too. If you click on resources, I uploaded the PDFs of the handouts. Not sure how it looks on everybody's end, but that is a way to share PDFs. But I also linked those
Okay,
in the chat.
okay.
And yeah, you can go back to the lobby.
there
That
was-
link is there in the
Yeah,
chat.
I'm so sorry, because I did not, it was not showing there was chat. There were questions about some things.
Oh yeah, I answered those.
You did. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
All right. I for some reason it's not popping up on mine, so I wanted to make sure we were set.
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and if you have any additional questions, if you're still here, go ahead and forward those to info@teachtci.com.
Yep, absolutely. And then we've got, this is just, you're going to go to that link and join your next session.